welcome to another edition of Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. I'm Scott Waddell, along with my co-host Caitlin Wesley, and this is episode 26. And we'd like to welcome our new sponsor to the podcast, Governor's Pub and Eatery in Sydney, Nova Scotia. And tonight we don't use this term very often, but I consider him a superstar of Canadian racing. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. But looking at his career stats, over 3,600 career wins, almost 3,700, $66 million in purse money in his career. And he started driving way back in 2009. And so he's had an incredible career. He is a world driving champion and also a multi-O'Brien Award winner for top driver in Canada. So I don't think I overuse that superstar status. Gonna send it over to Caitlin to introduce our special guest tonight.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I can't agree with you more. Definitely a superstar within harness racing, and definitely someone that everybody looks up to, if it's on or off the track. So I can't wait to, talk to you about who you are personally, but your achievements within harness racing as well. So welcome, James MacDonald, to the Behind the Gate podcast.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for having me. Glad to be here. I don't know if I'd use the term superstar, but happy to be introduced that way.
No, well, I remember a night back at Red Shores. Forget the exact year, but we'll talk about it later. But you definitely felt like there was a superstar on the racetrack that night with the World Driving Championship. But we'll talk about that in just a bit. First of all, James, I know the story's been told already plenty of times, but how did you get your start in racing? And of course, it comes naturally being from Prince Edward Island and being in a racing family, but just kind of tell any new listeners or fairly new people to the sport how you got your start in harness racing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as many people in the Maritimes know, my mom takes the pictures at the racetrack, and my dad, Fred, had some brood mares. So I definitely grew up around the track. I worked in the canteen for a while. I wasn't really on the racing side, but I was a track rat. I was always there. We were running around with, like you mentioned, Brodie McPhee being on the last episode. We were kids. It was me and Brodie McPhee and Stephen Quinn and my brother Curtis and Steve Shepard. And I know I'm forgetting a bunch of people, but we were always running around together. And so definitely involved in it, but not that closely involved in it until I got older. And then I moved up to Ontario, started helping my brother Anthony. He was really short on help and had a lot of horses, so that's kind of where I got my foot in the door with the racing. And him and Jamie Smith, I mention, and every time I talk about getting my start, it was always Jamie Smith. Kind of took me under his wing, and show anyone that knows Jamie, he kind of taught me how to work hard, and he would use some choice language about it, but he was always good to me, always worked me hard, but positive, and taught me along the way, because sometimes Anthony was so busy with his own stuff, he couldn't take the time to teach me. He taught me lots, but some things I kind of pick up on my own or pick up fast, and Smitty was always there to help me. So that's kind of how it got started.
So from a young age, were you part of the matinee driving over in Prince Edward Island when you were younger?
No, I've been to the matinee tracks many times to cheer. I was actually a little kid when I think Mark went over there, and he won. I remember I would have been 5 or 6, I think, but he won. I think he was 14, and he won 3 races there, and it was kind of like a harbinger of things to come. Like he got off to a big start everywhere he went, and he was well liked, and did a great job everywhere he went, and had a lot of success everywhere he went. So myself, I didn't drive. Like I said, I kind of got a late start into it, and I didn't have a ton of interest, to be honest. When I was a kid, I remember Dad would ask me to go feed the brood mares or water the brood mares, and I thought that was a big chore or the end of the world. So I was always complaining if I had to do anything with them, around them, but not as close as some people might think.
Right on.
So your mom and dad have been like a big part of shaping who you are, your upbringing, everything. Can you tell us about like your relationship with your parents?
Yeah, anyone that knows the MacDonald clan knows we're a very tight family. We, dad, dad's probably, to say he's a number one fan of us all would be the greatest understatement of all time.
Yeah.
He's the most supportive dad ever. I feel bad sometimes. I see younger drivers or other drivers and their dads kind of calling them and maybe not giving them shit, but kind of abusing them after a bad race or things don't go right. And my dad's the complete opposite. He talks a big game, and he's got that, I don't know even know how to put it, not tough exterior about how he would be with his kids, but he's a big softy, and he's always, I could run into 5 people every night and he would call and he'd be like, where were those guys going? Like it was always someone else. Like he was always, and anything he says is always positive. If you're having a bad night, you'll hear from him, and it's just, remember, you're the best driver in the world. Like even long before I won a race, it was, you're going to be great. You're going to be amazing. So that's been a safety blanket for all of us MacDonald's, for sure. We could always rely on him to get us feeling better and talk us back up. So that was great. And she's the same way. She's always calling and always supportive, and unless it's to do with Mark, because Mark's kind of the golden child. So then they'll kind of switch over. And I remember I'd won my first stake race, and London racetrack, city in London or something, and I was just beaming. I was so happy, and I called mom and dad, and I'm like, oh, did you see the race in London? And they're like, oh, just 1 second, honey, Mark's going to the gate. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, but no, my parents are they're amazing. They're so supportive, and all of me and my brothers, we see each other all the time, and we might butt heads, but it's always, we'll yell and scream at each other and then be like, hey, are we going to a movie, or are we going to go get lunch or something? It's never a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, your dad is involved in the only paper now copy of horse racing news in the Maritimes, the Atlantic Post Calls. So I know he keeps busy with that. So tell us what it was like, James, to win the World Driving Championship right at Red Shores.
That was probably, I say it all the time. People ask about highlights of my career, and I say that was probably, there's no better feeling than winning a big race. But that whole weekend was unbelievable. I'll never forget the parade, being from PEI, and they asked us to be in the parade, and I'm like, oh, this is just kind of going to be a waste of time. The kids are out to see their families, but I could always hear the announcers like a block or two ahead of us, and they'd be like, next on the next floats, Canada's representative, PEI zone from Cornwall, Prince Edward Island. And I had a big lead, and it looked like I was probably going to win. And the crowd, even at the parade, they weren't, I know I've been to the parade 100 times. They're not necessarily horse racing fans, but the place would just erupt every time I would get close to them.
That's
and then,
awesome.
And then the track was under the whole track was wearing white and red, and mom was selling the sweaters at the shop. But every time I jogged in front of the grandstand, it was like, you just won a big race. They would scream in post break. They would scream, like, go crazy. And I remember Dexter Dunn was there representing. Though he was representing the world that year because he had won the previous time. But he was just like, that's so fucking cool. Sorry, I'm being a little candid, but I hope that's okay.
No, that's okay. No,
it was, he was like, that's amazing. And a bunch of the guys, and I remember signing autographs and stuff. And even the dance, I think the night before, I was getting, I never get home to see my friends very often that I'm still really close with. And so we all went out that night, and I felt so bad because I would didn't get to talk to them at all. Every step I took, it was like, oh, can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph? And I'm looking over, and like maybe 30 feet away was John Campbell. And I'm like, I want to get my picture taken with John Campbell. And
With
like,
John
no one's
Campbell.
even talking to him. Like I was just
Yeah.
getting warmed. Like it was a
Yeah.
very, very surreal moment for me, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
So being a driver and having so many awards under your belt, so many wins under your belt, going into each season, is there expectations that that you need to get this much and that much? And do they really, like, does it bother you that you have so many expectations that you might have to fulfill, or do you just go in with an open mind and every year is a different year type thing?
Yeah, you hit it right in the head. I don't ever try and say, I want to make this much money or I want to win this many races. I mean, obviously in the back of your head, you'd be foolish to say that you didn't think about it, but I'd never start the season that way. I for a lot of years, I was notoriously a bad starter to the year. I'd always get off to a really bad start, and then it seemed I could never just get out of the blocks good until a few years back, and then. But it's just, I think it's just a different mind frame now. Like when then it was like I was middle of the road, in the standings, just kind of paving my way and then trying to find my way around, and it took a while, but now I'm at the stage to the last few years where it's like just show up every night with a good attitude, show up every night, try and be consistent. You don't have to do anything different. You don't have to try and force it. Just drive every horse the way you think that horse needs to be driven. And it sounds really easy, but in the wintertime, like when you drive, it's, you're running around and you're flying to Jersey to drive in the Hambletonian and the Hambletonian Oaks, and then you're flying back to the Meadows to race in the Adios, and then you're at Mohawk and there's 3 golds and there's this and there's that, and it's just so like run and gun, and it's big races every night, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. But then when you get to November and it's like, Thursday night, and there's a bunch of 8 and 10 claimers and lower condition horses, it's I've done it 100 times, and I know the other drivers have done it. It's easy to show up and just kind of be like, just not really feeling it tonight, or you're not really into it. But you gotta, that's where that good attitude comes in, because if you don't have that, then you get that attitude. But the people showing up, they've worked their butts off all week to get those horses as good as they can, and sometimes a 10 claimer to them at Mohawk is like in the North America Cup. So it's you don't ever want to let anyone down, and I think that's just the good attitude, good mind frame. And once you get into that, then you can try and replicate it every night, and I think it makes a huge difference. And that's kind of my mentality the last few years.
Yeah, so last year, James, you won another O'Brien Award for top driver in Canada. Tell us some of the horses that really helped you achieve your goals last year. Horses like Willie's Home Run, Legendary Hanover, It's a Love Thing, Soar Higher, those type of horses.
Yeah, like you mentioned a bunch of them there. Like Legendary Hanover, I remember I qualified him as a baby at 2. And first qualifier, I think I finished 6th, but he come home like 26 or something. And I remember I called my buddy Jimmy and I said, this is the best horse I've ever sat behind. I said, I've never seen anything like him. Like, he's just a powerhouse. He's quick. He can carry it. Like, I said, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, but I was like, I feel like a monster. And then he just went right along and proved it. So he was special. Willie's Home Run obviously was just about unbeatable in the Ontario Sire 6. She was unbeatable. She won, I think, every gold and then won the super finals. So that was, she was a lot of fun. And probably the most fun though was my newly wife, Paige and I's horse. He was unbelievable. He's been a dream come true for us. 1 horse stable for last year, 2 years ago, and this year, and he's pushing 560,000 made, and just been like I said, a dream come true. We raced him in the Mohawk Million at 2. We raced him in the Canadian Trotting Classic at 3. We got him eligible to everything this year. So he's been a lot of fun and a lot of nervous days like that. Kind of, I don't get to, I find like any big night, I don't get worked up. It's just, I know my job. I know kind of what's going to happen and how, you can't control a race, just do what you can. But when you're racing your own horse, it's Paige can't sleep and she can't eat and she's going to puke. And so that was the most fun. I know a few times I had to remind her, like, yeah, I know you're nervous and I know you're worried, but like trying to soak it in too, because you probably never have something like this again.
No, exactly.
Do you have a few people that you like look up to as like mentors, or even those ones that, have helped you on the way, but are not fully involved in your life within harness racing?
Yeah, I mean, other drivers, mostly my family members. I know I call and bounce. I don't do it as much anymore, but when I was kind of first breaking into Mohawk, I would pick my brother Mark's brain and ask him what horse, who would you take? Why, what should I tell the trainer? I don't want to piss anyone off. My brother Anthony, all the time, bounce ideas off him. Hey, what do you think? Like, especially with horses, or mostly family members, but I do have a lot of other people I bounce ideas off of. I still talk to Jamie Smith all the time. If I'm sometimes just want to forget about everything and just call him, have a phone call, call him. Or I have other people like that, other drivers. I call Yannick Gingras. Him and I have become good friends. So I kind of, he's helped me out a lot. I've been lucky. A lot of people, Jody Jameson, I still even though we're competitors and race against each other all the time, he's got so much experience and he knows what it's like to juggle great horses and trainers and owners for that matter, and just try and keep everyone happy. It's a tough job, but just do your best. And I know lots of times I've bounced pretty serious questions off him, and he's always been nothing but helpful. So
yeah. And of course, you talk about your brothers. They're a big part of the racing game in some capacity or the other, whether they're driving. Of course, Mark being another award-winning driver. Curtis and Lloyd have kind of dabbled in the media side of things. Do you guys keep in touch as you get older with, all of your busy schedules? And do you get together at a couple of points in the year where it's a tradition to get together?
not really. I mean, not where we make a point. Like Christmas time, we all try and get together if we can.
Yeah.
Mark's come back up the last couple of years, and we usually get together Christmas Eve, have a day there with all the kids, and so that's kind of fun. But we're like I mentioned before, we're really close. I see Curtis. We play hockey together. We're both horrible, but we both play. But we always find time. Like I'll have a barbecue here on a day off, and my buddies and Curtis, and if Anthony's in town, they're kids, and they'll come. And so Anthony, we talk on the phone. We message each other all the time. We're always like during COVID, I stayed with Mark when I raced in New York, and it was like I can't even describe to you how close our family is. We all get along so good. Lloyd comes up and we golf all the time in the summer, and it's just really, really close family, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
No, that's awesome. Go ahead, Kate.
So we're going to touch on a mare that everyone has followed and has known about throughout the Maritimes. She had her first, start right here in the Maritimes. Can you tell us, what it's like to be a driver behind the mare so much more, what she's like? Because from watching her on the live stream, she looks like the biggest powerhouse that you can possibly sit behind.
She's the littlest powerhouse you could ever sit behind. She's not as big is not the term I'd use, but even just you hearing you talk about her, I get goosebumps because she's unbelievable. She's been she kind of was the start of me getting to the next level as a driver. Like she kind of helped me ease into that, and just have her to rely on every week was unbelievable. I can't even put to words what she means to me as to drive her. just every week knowing you're going to get that war. And I do it all the time. Sometimes she'll be in with stake horses, or she's racing against them all, test of faith or whoever it
Yeah.
is, and you'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, it's a little too tough for her. When she went
Yeah.
against the boys, I'll be like, I'll try. It's probably a little bit more than she can handle, but we'll give her. And every time you have that doubt, she gives you just the craziest, most unbelievable effort you'll ever see from a horse. And she was a stone cold like sprinter when she was young. Like she'd get home in 25-2, and then she had like
Yeah.
evolved into this like just beyond horse of toughness. Like you can't even, there's no term to describe what she can do on the racetrack. Like if you can get her, you can park her the whole mile, you can park her half the
Yeah.
mile, you can get her close to the lead in the last turn and turn it into a fight. She will not lose. Like she will, like sometimes she might not be as fast as the biggest Grand Circuit horses anymore, but if she's close to them in the last turn, and you can, and they're going fast, the faster they're going the better, because she can sustain it forever. You're just, I don't know how many times I've been first up with her and just like pretty much laughing, because I know like she's gonna just annihilate the horse in the front.
Yeah.
It like usually you pull first up and you're like, it might be too much. If you can get her into a spot where she's first up and close, then it's pretty much over. Like,
Yeah.
she's just such a special mare.
Yeah, definitely. So take us way back to 2009. You got your very first lifetime win, and I believe it was with a horse called Tougher Than Tough back in 2009. Did you ever think in that moment that you could have dreamed to be where you are today, James?
Oh God, no.
No.
I remember I'd been up here helping Anthony for a while, and running around the track. So I'd met a lot of people, and obviously Anthony knows everyone, talks to everyone. And
Yeah.
being a MacDonald, I'm fairly outgoing myself. So I'd kind of got to know quite a few people, but I'll never forget when I was in PEI, my favorite horse when Mark was racing at Mohawk was Admiral's Express. I used to like,
Oh yeah.
couldn't get over it. Like he'd just blow you away, the way he'd let them by and then come back on and beat them at the wire. It was
So tough.
thinking back now, if I'd have been driving him, I would have hated him, but he was my favorite horse. And so when I was going for my license, we were racing in Peterborough quite a bit, and Mike Hale's racing in Peterborough quite a bit. So I chit chatted with him, always talked about Admiral, whatever. And he's still racing, but he was not the same horse anymore.
Right.
So I remember I was getting close to being done for points. I want to say it was my last qualifier ever, but he said, I'm going to qualify Admiral's Express at Georgian Downs if you want to come up and go with them. And I was like, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would do anything to go with him. Anyway, I qualified him, and he was so bad. Like he wouldn't go. Someone had to like break their neck of the horse they were going with to let me clear. And then halfway down the lane, I think I won the qualifier in like 58 or 59. And I think I got beat, but they just put it up and win because it was a qualifier. And I remember leaving, I was like, if I had got Admiral's Express beating a qualifier, I think that's a sign that I'm just horrible. Like you gotta don't even bother. So then I ended up I drove one in Georgia, and then I went to PEI. I drove a couple and ended up winning. Ricky, I was on the golf course, and Mark, I think, called me. Him and Ricky had come up with a plan to get me the drive on this horse. And I kind of had a tough trip the night before. I got parked out of the 2-hole, and then Anthony was in the race. He actually, he run Jason Hughes into the ground, and I worked out a good trip, and I flew off cover and won the race. So it was kind of cool, and kind of just a fun night. And I'll never forget my first win. It was a big crowd, the winner's circle, a lot of uncles, and never a million year. I think for about another 6 months after that, I thought about quitting every second week because I wasn't having a whole lot of luck.
Yeah. Right on.
So speaking of 2009, that was the year you left PEI for Ontario. Can you tell us like what made you decide to move besides, going up and helping your brother? Was there any other reason or, opportunity right there for you?
No, I came up in, I think it was 2005 or 2004 or 2005, after I took a year of, so I finished high school. Mark or Anthony was super short on help, so I came up and helped him. That was the sole and I didn't have a lot of aspirations on my own, so I was kind of, mom and dad, I think, were like, he needs to get the heck out of here and maybe go see the real world, you know.
Yeah.
So I did that, but I was enrolled to go to Holland College for marketing and advertising. So
Okay.
I came up for the summer and helped Anthony, and I didn't really, I didn't know anyone. I had fun, but it wasn't, really my thing.
Yeah.
So I went back to school, to Holland College, took a year of marketing and advertising. Then I flew back because Anthony was same boat. He was swamped. He's like, I need you here for the summer. And
Yeah.
that's where I met a lot of friends, met a lot of new people, made a lot of friends. And we started, Mark Campbell was actually still in, working for Anthony at the time. So we would, me and Curtis and Mark Campbell, and we would all go out and have fun. And
Yeah.
anyway, we would go out every night and then I got the bug bad. I was hooked. I was, training more and just, I couldn't go back. So I'm sure mom and dad weren't thrilled, but I didn't go back to Holland College after that, but things worked out. So
No, that's awesome. So out of your award-winning year last year, what would you rank as maybe your top three most when you look back on the year?
last year,
Yeah.
was more of well, obviously the O'Brien Award for the year was the
Yeah.
kind of culminated it all.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But I would say in terms of one race, It's a Love Thing winning the Fan Hanover was incredible.
Yeah.
Probably the other two were more heartbreak than, like, Willie's home run winning the super final was cool, and just her whole year was awesome.
Yeah.
But the adios really stung. I got a flat tire going to the half.
Right.
Came first up, and I got beat a nose. So
Yeah.
that was, I remember hitting the wire and I was like, just like dejected. I thought he maybe held on, and Yannick nailed me with Cannibal up the inside. So that was kind of heartbreak. And then probably it being at the same night as the She's a Great Lady, probably our own horse when he was third in the Trotton Classic. That was awesome. And it was that whole night. Like, I won the She's a Great Lady. I was second in the Metro, third with our horse in the Trotton Classic, second went in the Elegant Image with Righteous Resolve, fourth in the Mohawk Million. Like, it was such a good night all around. The trips kept working out. Would have loved to win with Legendary, but second in Metro was a tough trip. He did a lot of work, so it was just that was probably the I can't really pick them, divide them after that.
Yeah, there you go.
So you've made another National Driving Championships final. What would it be like to get an opportunity again to represent, the country in the World Driving Championship?
That's the best thing in the world, I think. I can't believe some people turn it down, the regionals, because there's nothing like wearing red and white. As much as I love the blue and yellow, the red and white, and even like the way people follow it in Canada. Like when I was even in Sweden, I wasn't doing very good, but after every night, it was 100 text messages like, we're all watching, we're all cheering for you. Everyone's so positive. So probably that, and just to see how happy Paige would be to get to go to New Zealand, because she hasn't stopped talking about it since the regionals came out. She's I think she's got her flight booked already. So we need a lot of luck, because I've been beaten in many driver challenges. So hopefully the nationals I can seal the deal, and we can have a nice trip to New Zealand.
Yeah. So how about some younger drivers on the circuit up there, James, that you compete against in Flamborough maybe or Woodbine? Any young drivers that are really standing out and that you think have a real bright future in the sport?
Yeah, there's always a lot of them around. It's
Yeah.
harder now too. When I was younger, there were so many feeder tracks. Kind of,
Yeah.
there was a lot more opportunity. The slots racetrack program was still in,
Yeah.
so it was maybe a little more appealing to young drivers. But now it's so hard, especially in the wintertime. There's not a lot of opportunity, and even you go to Flamborough Downs or Western Fair, and there's like 40 drivers there, so it's hard to get your foot in the door. But obviously, Austin Sorey's done a great job. He's just a young kid,
Yeah.
made a big name for himself already, and
Yeah.
he's everything he's accomplished already. Before, like when I was his age, I still hadn't driven a horse, so
Yeah.
he's got a really bright future. There's a lot of young drivers around right now that, like Tyler Borth, he's not super young, but he's made a
Yeah.
huge jump in the last few years. Then like even Todd Ratchford, you see him at Mohawk now all the time. He's got a great set of hands, and he can carry a horse a long way. He's just learning the ropes and learning how to succeed. But it's just something you have to do a lot of. You have to drive a lot of horses to get better at it. And unfortunately, there's no Connor McDavid's right out of the gates here, and right out of the race, and you kind of have to build your way up and earn your way to the top. And it's a long process.
Awesome.
So with a busy schedule, like you've said, you're constantly traveling, or you're racing almost every night, things like that. When it comes to stake season time, in your spare time, like what do you like to do with your family, or yourself, like to just go out and do something?
Well, like I said to you before, I just got home from first year I've ever been head coach of my son's baseball team, so that's pretty
Oh,
exciting.
cool. Cool.
Yeah, they were hard up for coaches, and it's Wednesdays and Sundays, and those are my only 2 days off. So I said, well, I can probably make it work, but that's been a lot of fun. I love. I think when I was a kid, if you talk to my mom, my dream job was being a teacher. So I love working around kids and just kind of seeing them develop. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. As far as myself, I'm an avid golfer. I love to golf all the time. Paige and I, we get out as much as we can, and well, she doesn't get out as much because she's always working, but I get out quite a bit, and then when we can play together, that's fun. But other than that, yeah, just Paige and I, we like going to the beach, or we get away when we can in the wintertime, and we just go for dinner. We've got to try and make time for each other because we're both so busy. So it's a bit of a juggle, but we do the best we can.
Awesome.
Right on. Who would you say, James, is your biggest rival? I know I've seen some on camera stuff between you and McNair. Who are the most competitive guys up there that you just love to beat?
Doug obviously is my number one rival. I don't. We get along great away from the track, but at the track, he's tough. He's just a great driver, and he just drives tough, and he's hard on you out there, and he's not a lot of fun to drive against, and that's just a kind of a testament to how great he is. So
yeah,
I would say he's probably my number one rival, and even most nights we probably don't even talk to each other because he's usually mad at me, or I've done something to piss him off. So he's tough, but he's a great driver. There's so many great ones, but as far as rivals go, him for sure. The rest of us, like Louis and Bob and I, we all get along great, but we all pretty hard on each other at the same time, and we razz each other, and we all ultimately have the same goal. We're trying to win. We're trying to do the best we can, and we're all super competitive. So good bunch of guys to race with, but definitely probably Doug is the biggest rival for me.
Yeah,
Awesome.
well, it's like any sport, as you know, James. You get so darn competitive, and I know that you like your sports and things like that. So that falls into racing as well. So go ahead, Kate.
Yeah. So with this upcoming season, it's already started for you. Moving forward, do you have any big goals that you like to see yourself try to accomplish within the season?
Um, Not really. Like I said, just I try and have that same mentality, consistency, show up with a good attitude. But obviously, big races. I'm at the point in my career where I want to win signature races. I want to win the NA Cup. I want to win the Jug. I want to win the Maple Leaf Trot. And I did win the Maple Leaf Trot once, but I want to win it twice.
Yeah.
I want to win the Hambletonian, but obviously, I know you're probably going to ask, and yes, I want to win the Gold Cup and Saucer. It's on the bucket list, and I don't think this year is going to be the year. I know I say I go every year for a couple days, but this schedule this year for the Ontario Sire Stakes is just brutal for Old Home Week. So we'll see, but one of these years, hopefully it'll work out, and hopefully I'll still be somewhat decent at driving horses, and I can get the job done.
Okay, so we'll wrap things up with a couple of fun questions here for you, James. First of all, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year? I think you're a bit of a hockey fan.
Well, as you can see, I got my Penguins shirt on.
Yeah, I see that.
Didn't pan out for us this year, but
Yeah.
that's a tough question. I thought Carolina in the first round looked as good as anyone.
Yeah.
But it really could be, and whatever goalie gets hot. Shesterkin's look great for the Rangers, so they could be the team to beat. And they're mean too. Florida's been just mean. Like it's rough hockey. It's awesome to watch. I haven't got to see a ton of it, but I follow it closely. And I'm gonna say I'll go with Florida for now. But I wouldn't be shocked if any of the eight teams left could win it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I have a couple fun ones for you.
Right.
Brutally honest with me with these.
Okay.
What is your go-to pizza?
Meat lovers.
Nice.
Right.
Who would, now this is, and you got to be honest with this one. Who would win an arm wrestling contest, you or Doug?
Probably Doug. He goes to the gym a lot. I'm very weak. Yeah, he's got those short little stubby arms, so the short muscles build faster, I guess. He would probably beat me. I'm not that strong.
Did you have a high school nickname?
I played a ton of baseball when I was a kid, and most people in PE I know, my dad and his dad were all Fiddler, and we all had the same name. So Paige hears it a lot when we go home. A lot of my old friends that I played baseball with still call me Fiddler, but Fiddler, or my mom slipped up when I first moved up here and called me Jammy Pie. So I still get a lot of jam pie.
Jam pie.
That's awesome. If you had to pick one song to do karaoke, what song would that be?
Well, I've done Dust on the Bottle a bunch of times, so I don't know if it's the best song I sing. I love karaoke, but I need a couple drinks and then I'll sing just about anything.
So if you could pick a job without it having to be with the horses, what job would that be?
Professional golfer. I need more talent.
He did say he always wanted to be a teacher too.
Yeah, teacher's probably more realistic. You get the summers off too, so I could golf.
That's true. Very true. If you could pick 3 people, and it can't be family, to go on a vacation with anywheres, who would you pick?
Can it be a celebrity or someone I know?
It can be anybody but family.
That's a good question. Probably I would love to go somewhere with Will Ferrell. He'd be hilarious. Yeah, Will Ferrell, Sidney Crosby. I'm a diehard Penguin fan. Sidney Crosby or Ray Fleury, something like that. But third, probably I don't know, like Megan Fox or something, like a supermodel.
Megan Fox.
My last one, and this one might have you a little, have to think a little. If you were to pick an actor to play in a movie, who would you pick?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth?
No, I don't. Paige burst out laughing. I don't know. Someone awkward, and no, I don't even know. I would say probably if I had to pick someone just because of their like acting or whatever, probably like Matt Damon or something, because I think he could play any role, anyone. He's
That's
not
funny.
probably built a little better than me, but it is what it is.
That's funny. I told Kate when we were talking about the questions before we got you on, I kind of pegged you as maybe Ben Affleck would be a good guy to
Yeah.
do you.
Yeah, we were watching the roast of Tom Brady last night. So we
Oh,
saw
wasn't
Ben
that something?
Affleck. It was really good. So he's got a little more defined jawline than me. So maybe Matt
Yeah.
Damon stick with.
Yeah. There you
Awesome.
go. Well, listen, James, thanks very much for joining Kate and I. We know how busy your schedule is, so thanks very much. We love watching your race, and we wish you all the best on a great 2024 campaign.
Well, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you asking for me to come on. I'm happy to join anytime I can.
Awesome. Thanks again. So that'll wrap up episode number 26 of Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. I'm Scott Waddell, along with our co-host Caitlin Wesley, and of course our sponsor tonight, the Governor's Pub Eatery in Sydney, Nova Scotia. And we want to thank our special guest again, James MacDonald, for joining us tonight. And speaking of guests, we've got Tisha Symes to reschedule. We'll let you know when that is. Also, we've got Justin Turnbull. He's a little bit excited to get on the podcast. And Tammy Lynn McKay. This should be a good one. We've got her coming up soon as well. So thanks for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you back here on Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate for our next episode.